Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to give you guys an update on these Topticon Bubble Levels, okay? And I really like these. These are like $14 compared to the Monstroons, which are like $19. So there's a little bit of a money savings there. But more than anything, I like that they only take up one slot, right? So you can see how the Topticon only takes up one slot. The Monstroons, these two over here are Monstroons. They take up two slots. So the one, it being a little bit thinner, taking up less space, has been a big convenience. Because usually, like when you go to mount this on the rifle, you don't have a whole lot of space. Okay, so like if you look over here, like I've just got one slot there that I could put it in, and it's still kind of tight. What I've done on this setup over here, because this is an 11.5 inch, what I do is I put it in the front here. Okay, right behind that the front sight. And what that does is it actually the front sight kind of also protects it, so that works really great. So yeah, I mean, at first I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to like these Topticons, but I've come to really like them as space savers. Now they're not indestructible. One of the things I don't like about it is the screw that goes in there is very short. So if you go to move this from, let's say, rifle to rifle, like I often do, a lot of times that screw will come completely out, and if it falls like on the gravel over here, you're gonna lose it. So I have to be like really careful with that. I wish the screw was just a little bit longer. Now the other thing is, like these things are like usually not 100% perfect. Okay, so the only way to know how good it is to like test it against another bubble level. So like if you look at these bubble levels here, like you'll see like this one over here is probably the most correct, right? Because that's just a larger one that's made for construction. Okay, so that's the most correct. And I can see that this Monstroom here lines up pretty good with it. Okay, this Topticon over here lines up decently well with it. Okay, but then like I got this other Monstroom here that's just a tad. Which one? One of them's a little bit off. I think it's this one here. This one's just a little bit off. This one over here, this Topticon, is way off. So the fix for this is I'm going to basically remove this, and I'm just going to sand the inside of this. So it's soft aluminum. It doesn't take a whole lot to remove it and get it level. So you're just going to take this. I'm just going to take this apart, and I'm just going to run it across sandpaper because it looks like I need to go in that direction a little bit to get this to match up. So I'm just going to sand it on this side a little bit. I already did it with this one over here. I had to sand that one a little bit. Now this one over here, right? This one's like an offset one, right? You can see how it kind of sticks out a little bit. Now this is convenient if you have like a big scope with a giant bell on it, right? Because you can kind of see it off to the side. However, this style is very prone to bending and getting hit and snagging on stuff. So I definitely don't recommend this. Also, I noticed that like if you over tighten it, it can start to take a bend. And if you under tighten it, it may not sit level. So what I do is when I start tightening it, what I'll do is I'll use another bubble level like this, and I'll start tightening the screw to the point where it's level. So with all of these, I mean, they're not perfect, but they're great tools. Here, somebody had asked me in a private video, in a prior video, somebody had asked me that they wanted to see how fast the bubble moves, and the Monstroons and the Topticon, they all move at about the same speed, so there's no difference there. I had also tried a CV Life. With the CV Life was even bigger than the Monstroons, and what had happened is the screw kind of stripped out. Well, actually, it's not that the screw stripped out, but the metal that it goes into basically deformed. So that was the CV Life, and that can happen to any one of these because they're like aluminum, right? So they're lightweight aluminum. So these are definitely like something I would look at like as consumable, something that's gonna, especially if you're moving it from, if you leave it on one rifle and never take it off, it'll last a long time. But if you're moving it around, from rifle to rifle, that's why I have so many, because I prefer not to move them around too much if I can avoid it. But yeah, if you're constantly taking them on and off, the screws are going to strip, the metal's going to strip. I mean, again, they're pretty cheap, so this is like a consumable item. But yeah, the way to know if it's true is like you got to have a bunch of them and just kind of line them up. In fact, like if you don't have a bubble level like this, what I would tell you to do is like order like 5 of them, right? Like if you only need 1 or 2, order like 5 or 6. Order them from Amazon, and then test them out on a rail like this. And then the ones that are off, just send them back. Send back the excess. Keep what you need. Send back the excess. That is, because Amazon has like free returns. They'll give you a label. They have no box, easy returns. But yeah, you gotta test it out. Now, like this one over here, like I can see this one's off. I gotta sand it a little bit on the other side. Now, here's the thing though. If yours does end up being a little bit off, and let's say you don't correct it, it's not that big of a deal because once you put it on there, right, you're gonna zero your rifle to it, right, and you just want to be consistent in your shooting. Okay, so even let's say I used this one, which I had been using on this rifle over here, I had zeroed it in. Even though it's like a tad bit off, what I was doing is I was just I was consistently shooting off of that bubble level, and that's what I had zeroed to. So as long as I was using that same hold every time, I was getting like 1-inch groups with this Palmetto 11.5 inch. Okay, so don't go too crazy. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit off. The point of these bubble levels is so that you are consistent, because if you are canted, right, if you look at my fingers here like this, you can see how if I rotate it, right, you can see how where I rotate the bottom or the top, you can see how at 100 yards that'll easily throw you off 1 inch or even 2 inches at 100 yards if you have a slight cant. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys another like a 2-month later update on these Topticons. They are a little bit cheaper. They do take up 1 slot, which I have found to be very convenient. And it's like what I prefer to use. I like that they're a little bit skinnier and they take up less space. And even though they're maybe, like I said, the screws are a little bit shorter, it's probably a little bit, maybe more prone to stripping over the long course. But it doesn't matter. I mean, especially if it's going to go on a rifle and sit there and not come on and off constantly, it's going to serve you well. Hey everyone, I just want to show you guys what I meant about just removing, one side of this, right, and basically just getting some sandpaper. Okay, I can't do it right now because I'm holding the thing, and you hold down the paper with one hand and you just run this back and forth, front and back and forth, to sand it down on the side that you need to sand it down. And basically, for the most part, you just got to take off the paint on one side, and that'll get this thing to to level off, and then you can use the other bubble levels, to calibrate it basically. So yeah, these, like I said earlier, get these type that sit flat on the Picatinny rail. Don't get the types that stick out to the side or hang off the scope or something, because they're gonna snag. They're gonna bend. Like these guys here. Like once you calibrate them, right? Once you file them down, like you can pretty much hit this, drop this, whatever. I mean, unless you break the glass, it's gonna work. Okay, so yeah, just file it back and forth on the sandpaper on the side that you need to bring it into balance. Now you do have to, once you put it on there, you got to tighten it a little bit, because once you like, you can't just like put it on there and just let it sit there, because once it tightens, because yeah, that's gonna, like, it's showing like it's way off right now, right? What's gonna happen is once I put the screw on the other side and tighten it, it pulls in a little bit, right? So you actually have to test this out by tightening a little bit, but don't go too crazy with it because you'll strip the screws, okay? But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that how I get these things to basically to come into perfect balance and calibrate them. Okay, this one here in the front is the one that I just sanded down. You can see how it balances decent with the ones behind it. So, I mean, we're not looking for perfection here. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. I mean, it has to be reasonably balanced, okay? So don't go too crazy with it, okay? I mean, this is more than enough to get the bullets, to group well.